Welcome to Shardcast, the Brandon Sanderson podcast. We're a bunch of mega fans giving you the news, discussion, and of course a whole lot of opinions about Brandon's works in the Cosmere. I'm Eric, and joining me is Ian.
Hey, I'm WeiryWriter.
Also joining me is Evgeni.
What up, homeboys? I'm Argent.
Yep. And lastly, joining me for our podcast about non-humans is a non-human. It's Dalish the cat.
This is Dalish. The only reason y'all ever want Feather on a Shardcast.
That's not
She's
true.
here.
We want you to talk about Renarin as well.
Oh, really?
Oh, no.
Hello.
Hi! It's been so long. I think it's been since pronunciation.
It's been a while. I have been super busy with school and things.
You have been like really busy. Like we
Crazy
have a
busy.
channel
Crazy
for
busy.
our planning for this show, and you just haven't been there since
No.
like August. And
I
you wouldn't
assume
have...
if something really exciting is happening, y'all would tag me, and other than that, I got stuff to do.
I mean,
I got essays.
that's fair. Great. Well, today, guys, because you love us analyzing epigraphs so much,
We're not gonna do it anymore.
Show's over, guys. Bye. We
That
saw
was the last one.
We saw the
This is
cat. We're
just
good.
an
We're out.
announcement.
We are going to talk about the listener songs. I almost said singer songs, but the listener songs from Words of Radiance, which some are not that interesting, but some are very interesting.
Well, so when do we think the last Legion started calling themselves the listeners?
Okay, so just as background, before the
Mhm.
last desolation, this group of singers was sent to the
The
broken
far
land.
reaches or something.
I think it was like a broken land. It made it sound like it was Natanaton, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That place which had been a human kingdom or something.
yeah,
Mhm.
and then they broke free of their gods. So it's got to be around the last desolation, or in that string of final desolations, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Stormseat was necessarily destroyed in the last desolation, because at least Oathbringer makes it sound like there's nothing that special about the last desolation in particular, except the heralds.
Right.
So it probably in that last 10, 20 years before the last
Yeah.
desolation,
Mm-hmm.
then Stormseat would have collapsed, or shattered.
Well, so that's not why I was asking though. I was
Yeah.
asking because if they went there and
Yeah.
they composed their songs, and then like a generation later, they were like, well, we're gonna be now listeners because of like
Oh,
whatever.
I see.
Then they are in fact the singer songs.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I don't know if I agree.
Yeah, like when would they have called themselves listeners?
They might have been composed before they started calling themselves listeners, but it was still very much of the group of people that would become the listeners. Like this was not a singer wide.
Okay.
Welcome to Pedantic.
I'm out of my depth already.
We're already here where it's like, what is a singer versus a listener? What is that?
Are they a
Ah.
species? Are they an ethnicity? Are they a tribe?
Look, if Brandon goes with listeners being the species for this, I'm gonna be livid. It's gonna be livid.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
No,
send
Oh, boy.
emails.
I don't think that's gonna be the case.
Remember back when we had book one and it was very simple and they were all just Parshendi? That was nice. We
Good
didn't have all these
times.
different terms.
Good.
And then we found
Yeah.
out it's like probably really racist to call them that.
Yeah.
Racist.
Shouldn't do that
Yeah.
anymore.
It's like
Well,
it was pretty racist even in Way of Kings.
That's true. We just didn't
it's
have
like-
any other term.
Yeah, we had no extra context. We were
Why?
intentionally ignorant.
because Parshendi is literally Parsh who can think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Parsh men who can think. The original Parsh word may actually not be derogatory. I'm not completely sold on that idea.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
Parsh
no.
wasn't always used for the kind who can't think, because we saw in the Gem Archive that one Radiant called them Parsh, and that was before Biodomitian was imprisoned. So,
Yeah.
Mhm.
but anyway, presumably these songs were created before that group, that last legion, went into dull form, and then they could not think anymore.
Well,
Well, not think anymore, but they didn't have the forms of power. That's what they tossed off.
do
Yeah.
we know for sure that they were composed before they entered dull form? Or were these composed by dull form?
I don't think
don't
dull
think you
form
trying
has
to
the.
remember.
Are you able to actually hear the rhythms in dull
You
form?
are.
Barely.
Oh, that's true. You
Yeah.
can't hear them in slave form.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can't hear them in slave form. But I was under the impression that the songs were a way to preserve that information when they went
Same.
into dull form.
Yep.
I would say that presumably they're pretty like well written and musical, so that they're easy to remember, which makes me think you probably had a form that helped you write those in
That's
a way that was
true.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really good point.
It just
They are probably also written to the rhythms. To
They are.
facilitate that.
They are written to the rhythms.
yeah, so it has to be before they transitioned into being dull form and removed those forms of power from them.
Yeah.
Well,
I
not all
would-
of
I
them.
would assume.
This might not have required a form of power.
Well, I'm not saying that these songs needed a form of power. I'm saying that group, when they were under the command of the fused, probably forms of power were very pervasive. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I
That's
would
true.
say so.
And
Yeah.
so they, as a group, they decided to remove those forms of power in that group. That's what I'm saying.
Mhm.
Let us go in and let us start with the least interesting one, the Song of Listing, where we are gonna list some forms and you're gonna like it.
There you go.
The aptly named Song of Listing.
I mean,
And Eric has told us that he's planning to perform a rendition of all of these songs.
I mean, I was
and-
thinking actually before this started that maybe I should have done like some sort of musical Shardcast intro, like "Welcome to Shardcast" or something like that. But I didn't. That's all
that
I
would
have.
have been fun.
Should we start with the 5th stanza? Because we don't have stanzas 1 through 4.
Yeah, so we're gonna not go in order of the epigraphs. We are going to go by song and by the stanza order, at least what we have of all the stanzas.
Yes.
So
There's a lot missing. 'Cause
there's
Brennan has not written them.
no.
Does
Boo,
remind me-
Brandon.
Hopefully, Brandon is keeping like good track of where each one is, because Dragon Age did something similar in that it would give us like snippets of their holy books with verse numbers, and then people started assembling them, and they actually 100% did not make sense, and like things were way out of order, and we're like, oh, y'all just threw whatever numbers on
I feel.
there.
Oh yeah, I guess there's.
But I feel like Brandon's a little more meticulous.
I feel like he
Yes.
has a document of at least the ones he's written in order.
Yes. I'm sure those are in his private wiki. There's also the Coppermind, which we know he
Yeah.
frequents sometimes.
Like if he doesn't have those, like a beta reader will
That's
pick
true.
up on
That
on
is
any
true.
inconsistencies.
Yes.
Someone will get him.
Can confirm.
So from the 5th stanza of the Song of Listing, mate form meek for love to share, given to life it brings us joy. To find this form, one must care, true empathy one must employ.
Bringing joy, am I right?
See, I was going like
Ah.
Marie Kondo, does this spark joy? And then
There you go. One of my questions is
uh-huh.
this is the 5th stanza, but is this the first form that's in this song? Because I think it might be possible that, like, what if the first 4 stanzas are like an introduction, like, here's what this song is, this is to help you remember, and then possibly like mate form is the one that's the most important for people to know, and they put it first. It's definitely the one Brandon puts first in what we've been given.
that's true.
That
And
seems
it-
kind of important to have as a species.
Yeah, you know. Propagation.
That's a valid interpretation.
Mhm.
It makes sense there
And
would be
just-
some introduction.
Just scrolling through the following stanzas, the other forms are in a sensible order, I would say.
Mhm.
I'm not 100% on Warform being before Workform, but the others are kind of, you go through the more basic necessities type of thing, and then you go to things like Scholar Form and Art Form, which are
Yeah.
more esoteric and like high level things.
That's true, but it does definitely seem like there could be more stanzas about mate form that we're just not getting as well.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of feeling. Like it's probably not one form per stanza.
It's just
Like
we
I would
only
think
see
each
one
form
stanza.
maybe gets a couple stanzas. Because we
Which
just
is
get the first one.
fair,
Mhm.
because by the time we get to dull form, which is the final stanza, whatever number that is,
Mhm.
we are definitely above 90.
Yeah,
That would be a lot of forms.
and
Because that's a lot of forms.
But weren't there said to be hundreds of forms?
yes, that is
So-
true. It's just interesting. Like if mate form wasn't the first form listed here,
Mhm.
could there have been 4 other forms more basic that they wouldn't try to get immediately? Like that just seems weird to me.
Yeah,
So
I don't know.
Well, they could have been not successful in
I mean that's true.
acquiring forms.
Mhm.
Yeah, because just because it's listed here doesn't mean they know how to
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
achieve the
uh,
form.
at least at that time.
Right.
Mate's kind of a big deal.
Yeah. Reproducing, that's important.
Especially if you are a small renegade group expecting to possibly be hunted down
Mhm.
in the days to come. Like I assume that's probably why Warform is next, because
That's
probably
actually a really good point.
retaliates a little bit. But
there's also
mate form
10
the most
stanzas.
important.
There's
also
10
fear.
stanzas between mate form and war form.
Yeah.
If I had to put a guess, I think there might be something like a guardian form that makes you like a good parent. Because honestly, mate form seems like you would not be a great parent. Maybe at
that's
first,
definitely for the making kids.
but
not-
yeah.
It seems to get the job done.
Yeah.
You need a lot of like emotional resilience to raise children. And mate form seems very like, whoa, we're just gonna have fun and like do all of that crazy
and
stuff.
splash in the
And
pool
splash in
of
the
storm water.
fountain. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
I could see that. Yeah.
that could be a guess, possibly.
Why don't we do the next one, which is Warform. Warform is worn for battle and rain. REIGN. Warform is just a giant umbrella made of carapace.
No. It's really
It could have been like horse reins, REIN.
It could
That's
have been,
true.
yeah. It comes with like little like I
like
was
a
gonna
bridle.
Syrups.
Well,
Not
A
syrup.
bit.
I
anyway,
don't know what you're talking. I don't know.
and
I don't know what word you're finding.
We're off topic.
yeah,
Great. Line
in-
1.
indentations in the face so that the reins can like fit.
Oh my god.
What?
Claimed by the gods, given to kill. Unknown, unseen, but vital to gain. It comes to those with the will. And that's the 15th stanza. So we are 10 after mate form.
Yeah, I mean, makes sense that the gods would claim that.
Mhm.
Obviously, now we know that exactly what the listener gods are of these dead singers who.
And
Oh, yeah,
it's
now
the
we do.
chasm
Now we
fiends.
know.
The Alethi were right all along. They're the best anthropologists.
Spoiler.
So
Are you saying Alethi are not scholarly? No way.
Crazy.
The ones
Um,
out on the plains doing war things, definitely very scholar. Much
Uh,
think.
Actually, before we continue talking about Warform, one thing I was gonna bring up about mate form and I forgot
Mhm.
was the kind of so one thing these songs do is they obviously list the forms. They give
That's
a
true.
brief description
Yes.
of each form, and they also appear to kind of instruct the singers or specifically the
Oh,
listeners
yes, you're right.
Mhm.
about the kind of mentality or mindset they need
Yeah.
to assume when
To
they
a-
want
To
to
attract
change
the
into that.
spren.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we can maybe talk about what kind of spren we think we are
man.
looking at.
Let's.
thank you, Argent, because I was literally just about to mention this.
Great. Great. Fantastic. Yes.
So mate form,
hmm
given to life, it brings us joy, is I don't think that important.
Mhm.
To find this form, one must care true empathy one must employ.
It does seem like the last line, at least in this
Yeah.
mate form and war form
Yep.
one, are talking about the mentality. So you need to be
Mhm.
empathy for mate form. You need the will for war form.
Yep.
Mhm.
But what spren?
Empathy spren.
Because I was thinking passion spren, but I don't know what that has to do with
But
empathy.
yeah, that doesn't seem to be
Yeah.
this. The line that stood out to me, the unknown, unseen in the Warform stanza, that almost
Yeah.
seems like maybe this is a spren that you don't actually see. Like, I wonder if there is a war spren that it doesn't have a physical manifestation. You don't attract them or see them, but they do exist, and you can pull one to you to bond it for Warform. Possibly.
Claimed by the gods, given to kill. Okay, that makes sense. Unknown,
Mhm.
unseen, but vital to gain.
It
Yeah.
is actually interesting that Warform is claimed by the gods,
Mhm.
given to kill.
What makes sense that
Because these are not forms of power.
no, but these were like the foot soldiers.
Yeah.
They wouldn't necessarily like give forms of power to like an entire army, but they would
But-
use like, hey, like this form is really good for fighting. Like we're gonna use that for our own ends.
There is a possible, ambiguity in that. Is the
Mhm.
form itself claimed by the gods, or are those who are in war form claimed by the gods?
I kind of like that second interpretation better.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You couldn't claim a form, but
Doesn't fit with the rest of the song though. Warform is worn for
Yeah,
battle
I
and
guess that's
reign,
true.
comma, claimed by the gods, given to kill.
Mhm.
Like-
Yeah, it does seem more like it's talking about the form
I
itself.
guess that's
rather
true.
than
Yeah.
Those who wear it.
I don't know which spren these would necessarily need to be.
Yeah.
yeah. I also like the parallel that in the fifth stanza it says "given to life," in Warform is "given to kill."
Oh, that's true.
Like there's a nice dichotomy there.
Hmm.
Wow, look at this poetry, Brandon.
Ooh.
Good on you.
Did Brandon actually write these?
I think so. Yeah.
Wasn't
Okay.
it his
He commissioned the lullaby.
Yeah,
father?
he
Yeah.
commissioned
I
the
knew that one was
lullaby,
called-
In Words of
father-in-law.
Radiance.
But I think he
But I
probably
don't
wrote
know if
the-
he did the same for the.
I was always under the impression he wrote these.
Yeah.
Same. I think I am as well.
He studied English.
Yeah.
yes,
They-
but
They certainly lack enough rhythm that I can believe that he wrote them.
Look, they're just spiritual
Right.
rhythms, Evgeni.
Oh my god, no.
yeah.
In the spiritual realm, all poetry is great.
There's also something to be said for the idea that the Parshendi do not have the same kind of rhythmic interpretation in their
Yeah,
poetry.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, they're not
Or
mighty
you
and
can do
iambic
the-
pentameter.
you can do the very hand wave of like, well, it lost rhythm because we translated it into English, but it's
Yeah,
really
yeah.
rhythmic.
Yeah,
in
easy.
Parshendi. Yeah.
In Don't Chant.
Yeah, in Dawn
This is-
Chant, it's great.
Yeah, exactly. Or so this is the whole like, oh, this is a translation of the Odyssey. It's lost a lot of the poetic from the ancient Greek, yada yada. But we tried to still make it rhyme because it's still poetry.
Because that's what you do with translating poetry.
Poems must rhyme.
So
Anyway,
much for speakers.
It comes to those with the will, says Warform.
Mhm.
Is there a determination spread?
I
I
don't know.
don't
You
know.
wrote the Spren article.
I know. That was
No,
a trick
there-
question because I know there isn't.
There isn't, but I wonder if there could be, because like if you can have something like a logic spren.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I really feel like the unknown unseen. I don't know what that could refer to if not the spren. Like obviously
Yeah.
a form isn't unseen. You can see when someone's in war form. And it's not unknown because it was the first one that they got back after made form? I think.
Why don't
believe
we-
so.
Question mark?
Yeah, which one did they get?
Don't
Was
trust
it
Yeah, I
me.
made
can't
form?
remember
It could
if
have
they
been
got Warform or Workform first.
It's one of those two.
I feel like it must have been mate.
Well, after Mate,
Oh,
which
yeah.
came first between Work and War.
Yeah.
Huh.
But it's obviously not like a super rare form that's often unknown, yada yada. It seems fairly basic. So I don't know what else the unknown, unseen, but vital to gain would
Means.
refer to, if not like the spren is very difficult to find or isn't
Unless it's
seen
talking
outside
about,
of.
it comes to those with the will.
Mhm.
Maybe it's talking about that, like, it's hard to tell from the outside if someone has the will.
The will
It's not like
to
anger, like you can
Oh,
like
possibly.
tell if someone's angry.
or the will to kill. The will
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
will
I
to
would say
kill.
like the will to wage war
The
specifically.
much weighted sequel to Kill Bill.
Will to Kill stars Jason Statham. I don't know if you know this. That's true. That's a
Ah.
fact.
It's his Killiam William instead of
Killiam.
not the nickname.
There's actually one listener guy whose name is actually Will, and you need to go to that person to get this.
With the will.
You gotta like bring him on a date when you're trying to attract this friend
In the High Storm.
into the
In
high
High
storm
Storm.
with you.
Look,
I have-
a
I
high
have
storm
the
date probably is maybe very romantic. We don't know. Let's go to the next one.
The one in Adolin had one, right? They
It
did the
does
whole
it does
high
lead
storm date thing.
to plate poop conversations, perhaps.
Oh, God, that's true. All right, I will take this one. So this is the 19th stanza, and it says, Workform, worn for strength and care. Whispering spren, breathe at your ear. Seek first this form, its mysteries to bear. Found here is freedom from fear.
Oh, that's interesting because it's telling and this that no, you need to do this first. So this line, the third line here, definitely seems to imply like
Why didn't you put this one first? Then?
their instructions.
But what mysteries does Workform have?
It's mysteries to bear.
Feel like the more we read these, it's like there's still so much about the form.
Yeah. We thought we weren't going to have anything to say about these.
No, well, literally, I was like, oh, song of listing. These aren't the interesting ones. Like, oh, great.
Yeah.
And then
Some
you like
bullet
get into it,
point.
you're like, what does that mean though? Oh my
I'm
God.
just bad with poetry, so I just like, I don't know. That's a great question, Alex.
Yeah. What are the whispering spren that breathe at your ear?
That's
Yeah.
weird, too.
Have the humans described any kind of spren
Well,
that
so-
whispers in your ear?
I was gonna say this could be Windspren.
Possibly.
I could see
Whispering
that.
whispering wind and things like that. We know that Windspren can imitate voices, unlike
Yes.
other Spren. In fact, Windspren are one of the few that
Yeah.
can do that.
You can actually have conversations with them. Not particularly interesting conversations because they'll forget everything in like 2 minutes. But
But see,
Maybe.
Windspren doesn't line up with work for me necessarily. Windspren
No.
seem very like carefree and mischievous.
That is true.
Not
Well, I don't
sit down and get the work done.
I don't know if the spren needs to be directly related. Like there could be some weirdness there.
Yeah, but it would be nice if it was, though.
Like high spren and abilities that the Skybreakers have are not directly connected, right? So
Well,
like
that
I know. I'm just saying they don't
Gravity
need to
is
be
very high in the sky.
I mean, they are. They do
High
appear
Spren.
as cracks. in the
High
sky.
spren.
but like that like surge binding is a level abstraction like
Absolutely.
much farther beyond that. These are like
Yes.
much more like basic things. So if
Yeah,
they
it-
didn't match up, it would be weird to me.
There should be
I
some
would expect
relation.
something like Windspren could be like nimble form or like a dance form or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Something that's involves, easy movement or something like that. Not something a little more windy than
The only one we know is Storm Spren and Stormform, right?
We
That's the
also
only-
know art form, I believe.
right creation spren specifically.
Does
Yeah.
it say that, or
It's
do we?
mentioned
Yes.
in the songs,
Yeah.
which we'll see.
infer
Yeah, I
that?
think it's in the songs because I did my homework and I read them before we started. Ha ha ha. So I'd seem like I knew things.
Okay, sure.
And there's also like found here is freedom from fear.
Well, that's just
Mhm.
the fear of being in dull form, that like you can actually like think effectively in work form
Is
and
it
like do
though?
That-
things.
Is it though?
I don't know that I would
Like,
interpret
I-
it that way.
That's an interesting interpretation.
Because when you say freedom from
Right.
fear, first thing that comes to my mind is bravery.
But I
Oh,
don't think
hmm.
it goes that. I think this is like it's work form isn't aren't brave, they just don't have fear. Like this doesn't like
Yeah.
sound good to me.
Yeah, I
It's just
think
like,
because I feel like I'm trying to remember what Esh and I was saying about Workform, but I feel like she mentioned something about how they don't really panic at things as long
Okay.
as there seems to be somebody in charge.
They
Mm.
are
They'll
like
kinda just
sturdy.
they don't like
go with it.
conflict.
Yeah, they don't like conflict.
That's right.
So I think it's not necessarily a brave freedom from fear. You're not really afraid of things to come. You do your
More
job, you get your work
Mm.
done, and what happens
Yeah.
happen. I think
more
is kind of
indifference than
the
bravery.
mindset.
Yeah.
It's mysteries to bear.
That's a curious line.
So that could be as trivial as, well, forms are magical things, they're mysterious. Great.
Mhm.
We found something that rhymes with care from the first line.
Yeah, pretty much.
Possibly.
Let's read the next one. This is the 27th stanza. Nimble
Mhm.
form has a delicate touch. Gave the gods this form to many. Though once defied, by the gods they were crushed. This form craves precision and plenty.
So this one breaks from the kind of established
Yes.
structure of the previous stanzas, because
Mhm.
now it touches a little bit into history instead of like
Yeah.
mentality and spren and things like
Yeah.
that,
Mhm.
which I think we're going to see more of as we look into these other more advanced forms.
Really feels like when the gods were around, the singers did not change forms necessarily in the same way that they did before the True Desolation, where they went into high storms. It feels like the gods just gave the spren to them
Well,
specifically.
no, I do think they always went into the storm. It's just
Mhm.
the gods, like
You think it was the
fused,
knowledge?
had somehow like either more control over this brand or like obviously they
Yeah.
had more knowledge
Yeah,
and they were better able to control what happened.
clearly. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't. I don't think it was a personal choice. I think it was like, hey, they've decided you're going to be Warform now. Go out in the next high storm, and you will become
Yeah.
Warform.
It is. That's just so interesting how they
Yeah.
managed to do that. Really, like that is very interesting.
Because I would have assumed, like, it would have made sense to me that the fused, with all of their powers and all of the assistance from Odium or Badu Mishram, would have a way of procuring spren.
Mhm.
So a fused general says, okay, we're gonna need 1,000 more warforms, and there is a method established where, well, they now have a bunch of spren that they can like hand out.
Yeah.
So another interesting this leads to Eshonai says that the traditional way of is like you go out into the storm
Yeah.
and like
Yep.
with the feeling and like she
Mhm.
doesn't like how the new thing is like, oh, you go with a friend trapped in.
Right.
Like, what if that was like the listeners reacting to how like the fused were
Oh, that's
running?
interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like-
Okay. I guess.
Possibly.
They made it
that's true.
part of their culture that is like, no, you go independently
Okay,
into the
that's right.
storm.
You're right. You're right.
Mhm.
No
the,
handouts.
the fused could have just been like, here's a sphere, go and just do that, and the fused just were very good at trapping those spren.
That or they might have had some other magical thing going on, but like they were very much in
Yeah.
control.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If
It
very
wasn't
precise.
like an individual choice and initiative.
Mhm.
Or okay, the other thing that could have been going on is there may be a way through access to Shadesmar to fish for spren,
Yeah.
well, that's
and
true.
and
Possibly.
that could be a way for the fused to acquire large quantities of whatever they need.
It is kind of crazy that the fused just have so much knowledge, and there's just so many of them.
Yeah.
It's very scary. Yes.
Yeah.
I have a weird off the wall theory.
I'm ready.
What if Ja'anat was involved and like could corrupt a lesser spren, make it do what she wanted, and then like right as you needed to bond, just pull the corruption back so the spren is normal real quick, or something like that. We do have an unmade who does weird spren stuff
That is true.
and has like control over them or something. There's definitely a chance she could have been involved in this process.
Sure.
Because
It seems
You
like an
know-
overkill to me, though.
Possibly.
yeah. But if it works.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
can Shauna undo her corruption?
It doesn't.
Or is
didn't it
there a
feel
way
like it?
to because like
sure.
theoretically she's been corrupting spren for ages, and yet
Mhm.
Yeah.
it's not like they just show up randomly. It's always
That's
like
true.
around where she currently is.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That is an excellent
Yeah.
point, and I'm going to steer this topic back on
That's
the
true.
rails
We're
a
not
little
really
bit.
talking about
Yeah.
On one rail.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
interesting.
Though, and I like to get back on topic. What gave the gods this form to many, the once defied by the gods they were crushed? What better way to make sure your populace is easy to control is like put them in a weak form that if they rise up, you can kill them easily with this other form that's really good at killing.
The
Man.
once defied by the gods, they were crushed.
I've been thinking about that too. Yeah.
Yeah, there's an ambiguous reading in this one too, because you could
Poetry
read it
ambiguous?
as
No way.
yeah, even though they once defied the gods, they were also crushed, something like that.
Okay.
Or it could be like once they defied the gods crushed them as a result.
Yeah.
Which
This,
I
don't
feel like
actually
the
think I
second
see
one
the
makes
difference.
more sense.
well, if we're
Yeah.
thinking these were created before the last legion,
Mm-hmm.
broke free from the gods, this could be referring to other sort of singer rebellions against the gods where they were just like
Yeah.
horribly crushed.
Because
The
nimble form
odds-
isn't good at fighting.
The odd thing is that why would you have a bunch of nimble forms specifically rebel against the fused?
Yeah.
What I was thinking
Yeah.
is that there may have been a number of nimble forms among the last legion,
Mm-hmm.
and at the time of the last legion's betrayal, they were found or they stood behind, or for whatever reason the nimbles specifically were eradicated. I'm not a huge fan of that idea,
Yeah.
because
That's
my
weird.
kind of headcanon has been that the last legion managed to make it all the way to the ruins of Stormseat
Mm-hmm.
and disappear, and the fused either didn't know about them or were too busy to do anything about them.
That does seem strange. Also, nimble form was one that was recently discovered by the listeners, if I
Yes,
recall.
it was.
That was like
They
the
were-
last main one that they discovered of the five, I think, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to counter what Argent was just saying is like, I don't think it was referring to like a small subset because it gave the gods this form to it, like, and then it goes into the thing about how they were crushed. So I feel like those are connected.
You think the fuse just crushed all of the nimbles at some point?
Or
it doesn't seem like a form that would make good revolutionaries that would need to be crushed is the thing.
Yeah.
That's what's kind of strange about it. Why was this the form that specifically gets talked about being crushed by the gods when it seems
Yeah.
pretty harmless at first glance?
I wonder if that's like this form craves precision and plenty. What if this is just the peasant form? It's like
Yeah.
we're like we don't need you to be in any particular form. You just be a nimble form. That way you can't do anything to screw us
Yeah,
over.
but also they could have just
You're not
given him work form, which
Yeah.
is like
Seems far more useful.
It's very strange, yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, even I
Precision
feel
and
like
plenty.
the listeners saw this form as overall not very useful, and they wanted to replace it with art form, creation form. what's
Well,
the
so
term?
they were using, some of them were using nimble form in
Mhm.
lieu of scholar form, which they were trying
Right.
to find.
yes.
And
Nimble form was better at like writing things down and like tinkering and manipulating things than
yeah.
work or
Yeah.
mate, obviously, or war.
Mhm.
Let's go on to the next one.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Because this next one's really cool. Maybe it's just because there's a keyword of desolation here, which is always just like,
Yeah.
oh, really?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I'll confess that for the longest time I thought this said meditation form.
Understandable.
Oh,
But it is not meditation.
Oh, it doesn't. Oh, it doesn't say that. Oh boy.
Oh, you people.
that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is like literally what I'm going to school for, and I still misread it.
Yeah.
Mediation or
So-
meditation?
Mediation.
From the 33rd stanza, mediation form made for peace, it said, form of teaching and consolation. When used by the gods, it became instead form of lies and desolation.
This is some good rhyming. I must
I
say,
was
this
gonna say,
sounds
yeah.
nice.
Oh,
I like this one a lot better than the others.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that one kicks butt. Holy crap.
this is your PR spin doctor form.
Yeah,
That goes out and
Okay.
controls the narrative.
yeah.
Here is
Population in line.
what I find the most interesting about this stanza.
Yes.
When used by the gods, it became
Mhm.
instead a form of lies and desolation.
Mhm.
Oh,
So this is playing into, I think it's still a theory. I don't think there's any kind of confirmation of this, that if not all of the forms, then at least some of the common forms have a quote unquote upgraded form of power, where the two are very similar, but obviously the upgraded one is a void form. It comes from a void
Mhm.
spren. It comes with like
Sure.
an actual set of
Sure.
abilities.
right.
things
Yeah.
like that. And so mediation form sounds an awful lot like envoy form.
It does. Yeah.
It
I was thinking-
really does. Wow, doesn't it?
I don't think that's what this is saying, though.
No, I
That
don't.
like I 100% agree that envoy form definitely sounds like a powered up mediation form, but this
Okay.
is
Mhm.
it's like the intent. Originally, like this form was used to like bring about consolation and like everybody agreeing and peace.
Mm,
But the fused would, when they brought in mediation forms, would send them to lie and to foment desolation.
Sure.
Yeah,
Mhm.
makes sense. Maybe void. Maybe forms of power were just more expensive for like odium, like just with his investiture. Like there weren't as many void spren, and so
Yeah.
a lot of the base people could have like mediation form and envoy form, and making singers into regals was still like considered an honor, but there would still be tons of regular ones, and
Mhm.
maybe some would suit mediation form.
Yes.
I would
I can see
say
that.
from what I'm getting, this seems like a form that could be like the bad side, the when used by the gods, it almost becomes like propaganda form
Yeah, absolutely.
of, you know, the overall idea is yes, to keep people from being upset and being in conflict with one another, but there's a difference between, you know, keeping the peace and keeping everyone feeling good and keeping your population from being upset about bad things that are actually
Being upset
happening
with the
and
leadership and things like
swaying
that.
them
Yeah.
away from doing
And
something
it's-
good.
They're the mediation forms is like you're supposed to trust them. They're like
Mhm.
these paragons of virtue and like
Yeah.
Supposed to be the neutral
Sure.
people who are helping everybody come together.
Especially these songs definitely feel like the fused were like, with whatever methods, maybe just as simple as the sphere, giving these forms very specifically, so they controlled
Mhm.
who had
Who
these
gets them.
forms, and we like you, we'll have you be a mediation form, people trust you, and then you can spread like lies and stuff.
Yeah.
mhm.
I don't know how much of that was necessary, considering that the fused were their gods.
That's
but I'm
true.
But
I'm sure
the
it
fused
helped.
can't be everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And presumably back then there were a lot more of them than there are, a lot more singers than there are now. There's a lot of them, but
Yeah.
you know, some stuff occurred.
And really, the fused think a lot of themselves. Are they really gonna go to like every like little podunk village
No.
and say like, "Yo, I'm your god. Do what I say"?
No. Even
Mhm.
like with Venley, it's just like, okay,
Yeah.
whatever.
They have people for that. They have mediation
Yeah.
forms for that.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, that sounds reasonable to me.
Next one.
Let's talk about some nerds. Scholar form, shown for patience and thought. Beware its ambitions innate. Though study and diligence bring the reward, loss of innocence may be once a fate.
Venli discovered this form, or rather, Ulim showed Venli this form, right?
Not scholar.
No.
Venli had been using Nimbo form for a long time, and then later, when she was an envoy, she saw the fused handing out scholar form to like conquered singers.
Yeah, it's like she was like
upset.
she saw some scholar forms and like was so like, I worked so hard to find that form and never did, and like these people just get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I remember
don't
that
remember
scene.
that.
I just the ambition part is just like Venli, you know. So
It does fit, right?
Yeah, it seems like it's the form she should have had that like most fit her personality.
yeah.
But I guess she didn't find it. She was nimble form actually. all
Well,
along.
I mean, the forms
For a
do
while.
affect the personality of the singer.
Mhm.
Let me
Absolutely.
just go back to Nimbo real quick. Craves precision and plenty. Not very useful.
Yeah, you're very precise and you like rich things.
That was probably like more Venli than more Nimbo form.
Yeah, I feel like
So her ambition is probably
personality.
her own. Yeah.
Yeah.
Scholar form would have amplified that.
Yeah.
There's
it's like-
also the possibility that Vinley cultivated her personality in a way that she thought was going to be scholar form-esque and leaned into
To
her
try
ambition
and attract such.
to try and attract that spren
Sure. Okay.
Kind of
Yeah, that's
played it
Because
up
she
a little
was
bit.
seeking it.
because that was the one she wanted. Yeah.
and that may have made it easier for Odium to slip in there and
To
manipulate her.
co-opt that passion.
Yep.
It's kind of cool.
And it's like, ambition isn't necessarily a bad thing. Like, this
No.
is the ambition to find a cure to cancer. Like,
The
this
ambition
is,
to
like-
build low-income housing. Like you're gonna be that person who's like, I'm gonna go to Africa for summer and build things. It's like those
Yeah.
people are great, you know? Like they're good things.
and it's loss of innocence may be one's fate. Like, not all. Sometimes you find out something that you really wish you didn't. Like,
Ignorance can be
hey,
bliss.
humans are the original Voidbringers.
Or you simply become too ambitious and
Yeah.
craving whatever it is that you're craving and being ambitious for becomes like an overwhelming desire, and you sacrifice innocence for it.
Loss of
Yeah, I think that-
innocence just kind of reminds me of, hey, if you're super scholarly, sometimes you lose empathy. Like Yasna sometimes. It's just like, yeah, we just have to kill all the heralds. I mean, it makes sense.
Or
Does.
King T.
Teravangian.
You know,
Yeah,
Teravangian does
absolutely.
that exactly to its literal
I'm
T.
just saying, I don't
Literal.
disagree.
Let's continue.
So this is the 90th stanza, and it is art form applied for beauty and hue. One yearns for the songs it creates. Most misunderstood by the artist, it's true, come the spren to foundation's fates.
I forgot to say that the previous one was stanza 69.
Yeah. Yeah, hilarious.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Hilarious. Or
Thank
very
you,
mature.
Brandon,
here.
for not making that the main form stanza.
We
Thank you,
appreciate it,
Joke.
Brandon.
Foundation's Fates definitely sounds like a Foundation novel of Isaac Asimov, but I don't think that is one. But this does really, so art form, not just like painting, obviously the songs, which makes sense, they're singers, so
Yeah.
that would probably be a very natural thing for them to.
Yeah.
Before we get too much in this, do we want to read the Song of Revision?
Yeah,
for
why
art form?
not? Why not? Well, let's
Yeah, that's good.
let's go.
It's the only thing we have from revision anyway. So
Yeah,
Mhm.
so there's one more Song of Listing, which we'll get to, but there's one thing from Song of Revision, which is a very strange song name, and
Mhm.
it's also about art form, and it says, art form for colors beyond our ken, for its grand songs we yearn, we must attract creation, spren, these songs suffice till we learn. And that's
So I think-
apparently a Song of Revision. 279th stanza.
Whew.
So I
lot
think
of corrections to be made.
this was definitely composed later and not by an artist form.
You know,
Mhm.
this never was obvious to me, but now it's obvious that these songs were made much later, and there's a lot in the Song of Revision just like talking about the forms and like maybe their process of discovery and things like that.
And also like clearing up misconceptions or like stuff that's unclear in previous forms.
This makes tons of sense in a society that, if you don't have writing, you're gonna just, if you want to pass down knowledge, you would create a song to do that. Song of Revision is that, and to preserve new information generation to generation.
That's kind of the new history of the listeners.
Yeah.
Song.
There's definitely a parallelism between the two versions. Like the first both talk about colors, the other one talks about hue. And then the second line both literally use the word yearning for the songs.
Yeah, that's true.
And I wonder if the first one was more fanciful and a little more vague, and the Song of Revision came through and said, okay, the first part is good and specific, but we need a more specific second part of this stanza. Literally, here's the spren you attract. And
it's like, you gotta get creation spren. Let's be clear here.
Not like, oh, it's artists misunderstood. Like, no, this is the one, and you don't have it, so get on that.
Yeah, and if we do think that like the Song of Listing was one of the earliest songs, and it was composed by an art form potentially, that it's like one yearns for the songs it creates because it's like, yeah, we all love their songs. They are great.
Sure. Okay.
Whereas in the revision, it's like for its grand songs, we yearn because we no longer have them.
Yeah.
Right.
I could definitely see the Song of Listing being more like ancient, poetic, all the English.
Come the spren to foundation's fates. Yeah,
I don't even know what that means.
I know, but like, yeah, definitely. I think.
And then Song of Revision is like, well, now we can speak plainly. Here's what's going on.
Get some creation spren. These songs will be good enough, I guess.
It'll make do.
Yeah.
And it's also possible that the original author, who we're guessing was probably some kind of art form at least, didn't know what wasn't going to be obvious in years to come.
Oh, absolutely.
Thought maybe, everybody would creation spren, art form, duh. And maybe that was a knowledge that was slipping away and the Song of Revision specifically wanted to preserve that because it wasn't in the original song, something like that.
I don't know what this last line of the listing version, come the spren to foundation's fates. I have no idea what that means, but I'm just...
Foundation's fates.
Yeah, because it's talking about creation spren.
What are the
what
fates
are
of foundation?
Fates?
Yeah.
Hell if I know.
Let's go on the dull form.
Let's do the next one.
So, the final stanza of the Song of Listing.
Great.
Which we don't have a number for.
No.
Yes, because Brendan can be incredibly unhelpful at times.
Yeah.
Dull form dread with the mind most lost, the lowest and one not bright. To find this form one needs banish cost. It finds you and brings you to blight.
Needs to banish cost.
Well, I think that's a fancy way of saying it's like, yo, it doesn't matter what you try to do. Like, you're not trying to do something specific here. So, like, don't think about what you need to do. Just go in the spread and go into the storm. You'll probably end up being dull form.
If you're not, like, trying to do a specific thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dull form is interesting to me. One, because it's very similar to quote-unquote slave form.
Yes.
The parchment form. 2, because... So, the main differences between slave form and dull form. Slave form, you are really, really dumb, and you can't hear the rhythms at all.
That's right.
Or if you can, maybe it's like a super distant type of thing where you don't understand what you're hearing. That, to me, when contrasted with dull form, which you can hear the rhythms,
Mhm.
although you are also strongly diminished in both physicality and mentally. That suggests to me that doe form does have a spren, unlike slave form.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And if it does, I am really curious how it is that you go out into the storm, and let's say you are art form, okay?
Mhm.
And so there is a creation spren trapped in your gem heart.
Mhm.
You go out into the storm, you are just walking around doing whatever, not trying to attract any specific spren. And as the Stormfather or the Rider of Storms passes over you, that creation spren needs to get replaced by something.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it sounds like it's a specific something. Like, it's not. Is there a placeholder spren?
No idea.
See, here's the question.
Mhm.
Listeners, singers, children, when they are born, what form
Mhm.
do they have?
They don't have a form.
This is a good Brandon
I
question.
would guess they probably would be dolphin. See,
Hold on.
I
Research
think I
break.
am maybe on the idea that I think maybe both dull form and slave form do not have a spren specifically, and I think maybe the differences between them are due to something else.
Well,
Because dull form still has that connection and identity.
yeah.
Right,
Oh, you
but
think
slave
that's what it
form
is?
isn't just blank. It's not like they're not intelligent. I'm thinking of the way that like Sa was describing it to Kaladin. Like he knew that things were wrong and he knew that he should be upset by things, but he couldn't act on them.
Yeah.
And that doesn't necessarily seem like a blankness. It seems like there's almost a disconnect between
Yeah.
like the mind and what the body is like
Yeah.
capable. Like you're not in control of yourself, except the
Yeah.
very most basic. You can walk and you can pick up things and you can do stuff like that.
You can follow orders.
Which
Yeah.
makes me feel like that's not necessarily one has a spren and one isn't. I think that it's whatever happened to them that created that block.
See, I had always thought that dull form had to have spren, but
I think maybe banishing cost is, choosing to let go of the spren you have and not taking a new one.
I mean, it definitely, like, if you imagine soon these last Legion peoples, they're just trying to get rid of their current form. They're not necessarily all trying to get in something specific. There could be a spren, but this might just be like base singer.
it's being a drab taken to the extreme.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
was gonna say. It reminds me
Yeah.
of being a drab.
Okay,
In that,
I can go with that.
It seems like the absence of
Yeah.
and
It
something.
finds you and brings you to blight.
Yeah. But those who have not been affected by whatever turned, the singers into parshmen, could still hear the rhythms, could still, it wasn't the spren that was giving them the capability to do that. That's something that's supposed to be innate, that something else took away from them and made it impossible for them to change and to know and do whatever function as people. That,
I'm really
magically
looking forward
lobotomized them.
to Stormlight 4,
Yes!
which is going to have a lot of Eshonai and Benley.
Yeah.
Answer questions, Brendan.
Still form intriguing.
What
Very intriguing.
what are Parsh born as?
It's a good question.
I really thought we had either like canonical in-book answer or a word
No.
of Brandon where, like, I remember something about listener children either being doe form or like not having a form at all until they are like 4 or 5 or 6 years old, and then they're taken out because Eshonai's mother tells Eshonai about when she is being in the heights of dementia. She tells her about Eshonai's like first transformation ceremony, which must be like a child thing, right? Like the first ceremony is not going to be like when you're 20. And so I feel like somebody had asked about that.
I know it's a question that's been bandied about for a while, but I don't think we've ever gotten an answer.
Interesting. The other thing I'm now thinking of, what form were the Parshmen who got Everstormed? did they all randomly get a spren when the
From-
Everstorm passed over? Because they didn't seem like they were dull form.
No,
They
they
seemed
all got
like they were-
randomly got a spren and a form.
Were they all work form? I don't.
I
Yeah,
don't
Kaladin just
know.
said they didn't look like. We knew they weren't war form.
That
Yeah.
could just be
They-
Kaladin's ignorance as to what.
Yeah.
He mostly saw Warform. He would see
Yeah,
a
right.
bit of Verlaine, but
Mm-hmm.
that's about it. I feel like, they must have just been randomly assigned regular forms, not forms of power.
Definitely not forms of power.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no.
Which is
Probably either random or like I would say maybe work form or like nimbo form or something like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That is interesting to think about, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What form was the default? You are no longer parchment
I'm
form.
Yeah,
Actually,
and was it?
'cause-
Were all of them given the same form, or were they? Was it random
Yeah.
or regionalized, or?
Because it was probably not dough form because
No.
they seemed a lot like brighter than the dough form
Yeah.
like council member
Yeah.
from the 5.
Who was the most respected member?
Oh
of-
yeah.
He carried a difficult burden.
Yeah. So, guys, I have some bad news for you guys. We thought Song of Listing wouldn't take very long. And I know this would come as an extreme surprise to all listeners of Shardcast that it did not. And so I think we're going to split it. So this will be a bit of a shorter one. The next one's going to be very spicy with Song of
Oh,
Secrets, Forms of Power, history stuff. Oh, yeah.
I think there was some unsuspected spice in this.
There
There
was.
We did find some very interesting things in
And
here. And there's a lot of stuff that we went through. We're like, I don't know.
To be fair,
I don't
I
even know what
never
that means.
understood what Song of Revision was until this episode. I was just like, but then I realized, 279 stanzas. Oh, that's what it's about. And then also mediation form not being meditation form, even though it
Same.
clearly
Same.
Yeah,
This,
How do words work?
well,
They're fake, actually.
it's
or like Adolin and Shalon's casual betrothal. No, it's
Oh yeah, I got
rather than
that one
causal.
right off
That's
the
right.
back.
And
Right off.
and just this isn't related to what we're talking about, but rouge and rogue, two very different words. It's just
how is the one like legit foreigner on this podcast reading all of these things
Well,
correctly
see,
and
I
all
think
of you are
I
failing?
think what it is, Evgeni, is I think there are studies that say you don't actually look at all the letters in a word when you read.
Well, no, you don't.
And so, like, mediation form, my brain's just like, oh, meditation form is similar letters. Great,
Yeah.
cool. It's just like that.
You're also
Sorry.
not a native speaker, so it's like you're actually paying attention to what's being written
have
there.
been-
whereas, like,
We're
It's just
lazy.
like,
Lulled into
everything
a
we know
sense
what
of
that means.
complacency,
We're lazy
while you know
Americans.
that English is evil and
Yeah, exactly.
are constantly on your guard
Yes.
against it.
Yep. So, guys, it's time for Who's That Cos? Whatever.
we have an
let's just
intro
play the
now.
song.
Why do you do that?
I don't know.
This character is from Roshar.
Menace.
Tien, Tom,
Raise.
Void in drag on a horse.
It's time for Who's That Cosmere Character? Caw. All right, everyone. It's time for Who's That Cosmere Character, the game where you send in a clue, or 5 clues, and a character to WTCC@17shard.com. Link below. Yes, Ian?
I'm just confused why Argent just took a selfie.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah, I don't know either.
Yeah, don't worry
On
about it.
audio, just like,
Look, don't worry about it.
okay,
Okay.
that's fine. And then we're gonna try and guess who's that Cosmere character.
Who that Cosmere character is.
Don't shut up.
English is fake.
This one was sent in by Jess Darling,
Hi.
which is interesting to me for a reason.
Yes.
And clue number 1, not the Jess that I bring up.
A
Clue
different darling.
A different, yes, a different Darling.
There you go.
Clue number 1.
Oh.
This character has a daughter.
Navani.
No.
Since I brought him up earlier, I'll say Sa.
No.
Good guess.
Isn't it funny
Vin's
how-
mom.
Vin's No.
Literally her only real characteristic.
Hey,
Yasna's
that's
mom.
not true. Vin's
Sure, she's
mom
also
murdered
crazy.
her sister with an earring.
Because she
two
was
characters.
cray-cray.
Watch me guess. Vin's sister's mom.
Clue 2. This character died of a disease.
That's a spicy clue.
All mother.
No.
What?
Elend's mom?
No.
Do we even know that much about her? I don't.
No,
think
I don't think she's named.
There's
actually.
literally like no characterization.
Oh, that is
I
that
literally
is
don't think she's named.
such a good clue. I wish I knew
Hmm.
like characters.
Yeah.
I wish I knew characters. It's so good to have you on this show. Eerie Rira. Which
Look.
died of disease. Oh my god, you're white, Palancian.
Wow, that did really good.
Or
that
red
should be kept in.
That's
Hey,
good.
More of a
audio
green
listeners,
balance.
you didn't know, but Ian put his arms up and his camera was just like, "Yo, you're gonna be like greenish yellow. Have fun."
His inner Hulk came out.
Production's so
Obviously.
weird. Cameras are weird, guys.
They are.
Dalish agrees.
Dude.
Cameras are weird. Meow.
She's distressed that she can't do bad things right now and is whining about it.
I'm surprised you get anything done ever with Dalish around, Alex.
She's very cute. If she's not being naughty, she's cute, and then I just want to go like
Railden.
right?
No.
Okay. Before you give the next clue,
Yes,
can I make a guess now and forgo my guess after the clue?
this is acceptable.
Sure.
Okay. Calmseer,
It is calm.
which is the turn I was trying to think of, but I said All Mother instead.
Clue 3 was this character made a great sacrifice. Yeah, I know. As soon as you said All Mother, I was like, Clue 4, this character has never appeared on screen, air quotes. And clue 5 is this character resided at the Court of Gods.
I almost said, oh, I said the wrong returned name, but like, no, I'm not going to say that.
There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes
I,
sense. Mother, all mother. It's just sort of. Yeah.
The only reason I remember this character is because Ian keeps bringing him up like every few months on who's that Casimir character. Still don't know who that is.
Calmseer is female and is,
Isn't she the one that Lightsong was in love with?
yeah,
The only good returned, he said.
Yeah.
In love with?
I mean,
yes.
sort of, but yeah, she would. And then she gave up her breath, and he's like, and now
Oh,
everyone
right,
at the
right,
Court
right,
of
right.
Gods
That
is
was the last
awful.
She
good
gave
return.
her
She was
breath
the
up
last-
to
yeah.
save her daughter.
All
Who was
Mother
sick
was
with the same disease that she died of.
All
Oh, I
All
didn't know
Mother.
that. Is that a wob?
I think it might be.
Okay, I was like, I don't remember that from the.
We had
Oh,
annotations,
the annotations.
for Warbreaker.
Yeah.
I can't wait for the Warbreaker Anniversary Edition, so I can actually remember some of these people finally.
So I can remember characters in the story.
Uh,
All right, next character. This one is sent in by Minukos. Hi.
I hope you have a better character.
Ooh. This
I
that
liked
other
that
one was
character.
good.
Calmseer's a good character.
The problem with this email is it just has the answer as the first line, and I was just about to say it, and I was like, wait.
Clue number
Hold on.
1. This character is a menace.
Clue 1. This character has dead parents.
Every single person in the
That
cosmere.
narrows it down.
I know. That's why it's a
Except
good
Kaladin
clue
right
one.
now. For now.
For now.
For now, very important.
Dead parents.
Dalinar.
No.
Just guess like old people.
Jushu.
No.
Raoden.
No.
His wow, okay.
His
two.
father died.
Yeah, but like not at the beginning of the story.
Yeah, well, I mean...
I'm just gonna keep going through Shalon's brothers.
At a certain-
What a-
They
Their parents
will
are dead.
carry you through clue 4.
Yeah. After
Well,
a certain point,
probably.
everybody's parents are dead. So
Yeah.
Well, I have some news for you, Alex, because clue 2, this character has traveled planets multiple times.
I mean, Helleron could have gotten around. We don't know.
Has traveled.
Is that your guess?
No.
I feel like that narrows it down like
I feel like it should.
dramatically.
It really does. I was tempted to switch some clues, but I'm gonna keep it in the traditional order.
Galadon.
No.
Demo?
No.
Chris?
No. Do you know anything? I guess we kind of do know something.
I
about
mean, the
Chris's
problem with
character.
world hoppers is that, like, by process of elimination, their parents have probably died because they probably outlived them because they
Well,
have
yeah.
weird times.
Statistically speaking.
Presumably the clues are a little more definitive than that.
Yeah, you
Yes.
think.
Clue 3. This character has royal blood.
Vivenna?
No.
I was literally gonna say that, and
Rip.
then I was like,
I think I'm stumped. I cannot think of
I like
anybody.
this one. This one's really good. I like this one a lot.
has traveled. Read me the first one again.
This character has dead parents.
No, the other first one.
He said the first one.
The
No,
second one.
Sure, the other first one.
Well, technically, the first one is the name. So
Give me the
It's true.
This
give me
character,
the first plus one.
This character has traveled planets multiple times,
Has
which is an
traveled
interesting way to say that.
planets multiple times.
I have an idea,
Multiple
but I need
planets.
to narrow it down from 2.
I'll say Eatel, I guess. It's not, but
No,
sure.
no,
just
no,
just
no,
to
no.
have a guess.
It has to be somebody who
Whose parents
like-
have been
who
mentioned.
like more definitively know.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think of world hoppers.
Has traveled planets multiple times. Royal blood.
Yeah, I know. Vivenna's a good guess, but unfortunately it's wrong.
Wait.
Mm.
Oh, I have a really good guess all of a
Oh,
sudden.
do you?
I do, I think.
Ooh.
I think there's some Okay, I'm not going to say anything.
I
Yeah,
think
don't say
we are
anything.
on the same wavelength.
Oh, you guys are gonna have to go
We're
real
gonna
fast
fight
on
it.
clue 4. Maybe.
Well,
Although clue
you-
4 might just totally ruin everything.
Possibly.
you have
I
time.
have one specifically that makes sense.
In the interest of time, I'm just gonna pass.
Okay, clue 4. This character hails from a planet that we have not seen.
That totally just ruined.
Wrecked.
Is it Shalash?
It is Shalash!
Yes! The Desolations, they bounce between planets. I was like, that's
From
it.
Ashen!
That's
See,
it.
I was thinking
It's like they're not a world.
He's
Kishara
dead.
and Denth, who
Mm.
are
And then I was like,
royal blood and have been
Jezrien died.
I take
Jezrien, he
issue.
was the king of the heralds.
I take issue.
Uh-huh.
One, King of the Heralds doesn't actually mean royalty. Two, we don't know the fate of her mother. Three, we don't
Definitely.
have a canonical answer on whether she was born on Ashen or on Roshar
I agree
or
with
during
that
the
part.
transition between the
Mhm.
two worlds.
To
I will
refute your-
acknowledge that her going back to Braze counts for her.
Absolutely.
to refute your first point. Yes, Gezrian was a king. He was a king before he was a herald.
That is.
They talk about Tho'once was the only one who like wasn't special.
Okay.
And
I-
they mentioned like royalty or stuff like that.
Also, even if he wasn't, if like you became a king later and were not born a king, wouldn't that still mean that now your children have royal blood because you were a king?
Yeah.
Right?
It's just that, like, King of the Heralds.
Symbolic
like,
title. Not
Yeah,
like
it felt like a
actual
symbolic title
royalty
than an
or anything.
actual king.
See that.
Yeah.
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 Well,
Although
it-
he did
in
wear.
the
Take this
prelude.
victory.
Yes. It's been many
is mentioned.
centuries since he wore a crown. Yes. I remember.
Clue 5 was this character is a cognitive shadow.
Wait, she's
Yeah.
what?
Yeah,
Wait,
the
are the
heralds are
heralds-
cognitive shadows.
Yeah.
as are returned.
Yep.
So
Do you this
Okay.
came out in the Skyward Tour Words of Brandon, Alex, that the heralds actually have their bodies remade for them when they come back.
That makes sense, I guess.
They're not body snatchers, in other words, but
Yeah.
like they're not
Much-
shades. Like their bodies like rematerialize.
Weird.
That's your fun factoid of the day that has nothing to do with the singers.
I can recommend listening to Shardcast and keeping up with
Yeah, I've
Words
heard
of
about
Brandon
that
from...
podcast. You know, maybe I'll check it out one of these times.
Yeah.
Alex is like, these episodes are too long. I don't have time to listen to them.
I have essays to write. If I can't be on Shardcast, I don't have time to listen to Shardcast.
That's probably true, yeah.
They take about the same amount of time.
We
Recording's
say
a
as
little
we
long.
split the
That is
episode.
not true. It takes about double the time to record an episode. Yeah.
Oh boy.
So, guys,
Oh man.
follow us on 17char.com for all your news, discussion, theories, and fun that you could ever hope. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, SoundCloud, YouTube. Leave us a review on iTunes. You can support us on Patreon. And you can view all these epigraphs on the Coppermind, obviously.
Mhm.
And we will see you all next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Caw!